So this is our last day at Abbey Road in London, scoring. Because of the schedule, we're editing upstairs in this facility. Meanwhile, Rick Pearson, one of our editors, is at the ranch, at Skywalker Ranch, trying to help do pre-dubs on the sound. We're still making picture changes. A tiny fraction of the effects are in. A lot of elements have been decided, but there's still a lot of things up for grabs. It's crazy. And now we're really just playing beat the clock, because I think we understand what we have to do. It's just a matter of executing it with quality to live up to what people expect and hope this film will be. There's a lot of things that have to come together for this movie to work out. When post-production, a lot of it is people expressing what their instincts are to each other and debating that back and forth. And that's a dichotomy right there. You're explaining what you feel. I actually like this ending.
Oh, you like this ending?
Well, I like the thoughtfulness of this ending. I kind of do. When you push through something, you're sometimes eliminating the best idea because it hasn't occurred to you in the moment. Undoubtedly, when you are on the floor directing, you have so many things on your mind that it would be foolish to think that in that moment you have the proper insight into how the film should be cut.
Let me see if I can get a few more frames. You need him to see it. That's the thing, is if you're seeing it.
You tend to carry in expectations that you have from the scripting process, the development process, the shooting. What take you circled, you thought that was the magic take because it felt good on the set, but really it doesn't matter. What matters is what's in the can and what the overall story is.
This cut's gonna be good.
More often than not, I found in the past that you go through this whole journey and then you finally arrive at a conclusion and you look at it, and it tends to be very similar to the first assembly because an editor looked at it with a more objective perspective. Put it back, that wide's good there. He's not reacting to anything. Just put him after, right before she walks up, put him after.
But he gets too close to the first one.
I know, but that's not,
you don't need it. It's good?
Yeah.
Very good.
I tend to let the editors have room because the process is going to be so crazy later with so many people having voices that I want to give them a moment. What's nice in the editing room and for the director's cut is you could, I have the permission to really say, it doesn't feel good to me. Try this, let's just try this. And with non-linear editing, it's easy to try different things very quick. If we could recover from Uncle Sam into it, can we just take this cut and drop Uncle Sam into that middle slot and see what happens? Let's just see, maybe it'll work. Never know. That's how the magic happens. A lot of what happens creatively at every step of the game, but especially for an editor, I think, is you just indoctrinate yourself to everything. And it's not like you consciously make decisions. I think that things occur to you. You feel it. It's instinct. It's what you feel in your gut is right.
I agree with you, but I'm wondering if you actually do it hammer first, then he just quickly goes Russia, Iran, and then we're out. Instead of making a big to-do,
The expression is the last rewrite takes place in the editing room. And that's really the most important one. And it's the part of the process I like the most.
Yeah, so
that's great.
Okay.
That's it. Sometimes you could eliminate like a 3-minute scene that's just tearing the movie down and just making the whole act hammock. You get into these discussions where it's like, well, we got to cut the scene. Well, you can't cut it because how else are you going to find out that this happened? And then sometimes Jarvis could help supply that.
Anton Vanko was a Soviet physicist who defected to the United States in 1963.
The Jarvis dialogue was always a very useful tool to help solve plot problems. There was a very long, protracted sequence of us figuring out that he's dying and that the heart has to be, and then we had added late in the game the idea that he has to swap an ingot out into the thing.
Do you like that, Maddie? The idea of coming out, grabbing things, walking around through the thing, calling out my soldier, putting it in.
Things would change on the set and change in the editing room. It was great to have Jarvis express what we obliquely said, but people wouldn't understand, certainly when he's putting his heart in at the beginning.
You are running out of both time and options. Unfortunately, the device that's keeping you alive is also killing you.
And then I went to Paul, because I'd worked with Paul on Wimbledon, and I love Paul. Paul's a very funny guy.
Right now, it's reading as a screen that has the stock price of Stark going up, and so this would reflect that.
We're also trying to get maybe somebody to do a bit from a monologue or something from a late night show making fun of the government, what happened in the Senate hearings, so topical humor. In which case,
Well, Conan needs a job. All right, so.
Last time we were actually, he was in New York, and he did it over a tie line. We would show him the scene. We would supply him with pages. He'd read through it. This time we actually had several sessions with him, and he came in. This movie's a bit heavier. I mean, he's dying in it.
All right.
And you're kind of the only one who knows.
Right.
So there's certain times I think when it's appropriate to joke around, and other times where we're sort of, the audience doesn't know what's happening, but you do and he does, and it could be very helpful in that area. He helps us with the wording, and his British accent sounds better.
This is the one that's not going to be the movie, but let's give it a shot.
Welcome home, sir. Congratulations on the opening ceremonies. They were such a success, as was your Senate hearing.
Paul and Robert have never performed together. It's always been me on one end and me on the other end. So I'm sort of in between. And then you take me out, and then they come together well. Sure, I recommend you change out and you control the thing. You open the thing up.
I have run simulations on every known element. I am sorry, sir. This is not a suitable replacement for Palladium.
And it's amazing how much personality we could bring to it. And it's justified because Tony Stark would program that. He's creating his friends. And, you know, it's about a person who's very isolated and the only people close to him are the creatures he created.
Jarvis, could you kindly vacuum a digital wireframe? I need a manipulatable projection at your earliest convenience.
The music in this film, we were a little bit more ambitious this time with what we were trying to do. This is why you come here to get that. Ringo drank out of this one. It was nice to come to London. Abbey Road was a really great place to come to. A sense of history, not just with the Beatles, but with film, you know, with Star Wars and with Lord of the Rings. It's a great, great place to work.
Being that this score is sort of a bigger in scope score than the first one, we wanted to obviously go and record at Abbey Road and do it sort of the right way with a big orchestra. I think for John and the filmmakers, producers, it was fun for them because being in this beautiful, historic, big studio was wonderful. And then hearing the sound of the London Symphony Orchestra was just amazing.
Since I privatized world peace, he's on the ropes, and now he gets the, you know, the sort of the swell, the Mr. Smith goes to Washington type swell.
I have successfully privatized world peace.
He wanted to create a different score for this film because this film is a lot different than the first in that you've got different characters, you've got a much different type of villain. What we ended up with the Iron Man theme was this sort of a combo between, it was really difficult actually. We treaded on ground that was sort of familiar, I think, to what the fans are going to want to hear. We did a number of versions of his theme. For instance, you hear his theme on the track when he first puts on his suit. We should do the first half of that and then just do a nice.
What's nice too is your strings were really good and really James Bondy, and if we end up just mixing it out, we'll lose all of that. Right. We were gravitating to something a bit more orchestral. I've worked with John Debney on Elf and on Zathura, and he's done a great job for me. And remained a friend and was always a huge Iron Man fan. We like what it did for momentum. Right. So we're asking ourselves to do, I think, maybe
well, let me take another shot at this one. I believe it was Kevin had an idea to come up with this Howard Stark Expo song.
Everything is achievable through technology. Better living, robust health, and for the first time in human history, the possibility of world peace.
I thought it was a terrific idea, and so who better than to hire Dick Sherman?
I mean, he did the score of the first movie I ever saw, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That was the first movie my dad took me to. And I remember it. I remember that. And it must have made an impression because I'm making movies. And Richard Sherman was up for doing a song.
Dick Sherman, Small World, all these other Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, you know, Mary Poppins, all these classic songs. And Dick came over early on, a few months ago, and we started working right here at the keyboard. He was playing the different versions of the theme of his song, and I just, you know, what can you say? You hear it and you just know immediately it's so perfect.
Make way, tomorrow's coming today.
When I listen to Dick's music and his brother Bob, to me, when I hear their music, it's what the world should be.
Great. It's a great right? It's a great
One of the things John and I spoke about early was how much should be more contemporary guitar driven and how much should be a little more conventional orchestral driven. This is the amazing, illustrious
Tom Morello.
That is Tom Morello.
Here I am.
The first movie, Tom came in and played a bit on that.
Tom's a friend. He's, if not one of the most talented guitarists around. Has a great sound that fits Iron Man. Grew up a tremendous Iron Man fan.
I was a huge comic book fan, collected thousands of comic books, and among them, as a kid, Iron Man was my favorite. I think that, you know, my sensibility as someone who is not a a classical composer, you know, John's got all that completely covered and is, you know, one of the best ever at handling that side of it. I think what they wanted from me was some raw guitar playing. It's going to be the experimental rock track. There was a different approach for Iron Man 2 and working with John Debney, putting the electric guitar, meshing the electric guitar with the movie.
I wanted him to be a huge part of the process. I didn't want him to just come in and be a session guitar player. I wanted him to come in, listen to sort of what I was trying to create, come up with ideas. You know, we create it together, kick it back and forth, and he loved the idea. He embraced it. So this is all C key. And we're going to right there. So that would be chunk one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be fun. He would come up with ideas that I think were amazing, and we'd throw it up against the picture and see if it would work.
Some of it was trial and error. I would just dial up a guitar sound, look at the screen, you know, factor in the key of the song and the changes, some of which time signature wise are more challenging than the music that I do in my day life.
I ended up having him play in a couple of things were in 7/8 time, which is it's an odd meter.
There was a particularly tricky time signature that I just couldn't get.
More time.
Till finally there's a Pro Tools screen where you can actually visually watch the sound as it goes by.
Does this help at all if you can see
absolutely.
it?
Oh, yeah. There's my piece of paper, baby.
There it is.
All right.
So I had to do it literally by sight and just like watch the little marker as it went down the screen. And when it came to that little blue spike, okay, play there. Some of them are much crazier and mathematical than I'm used to working with, but I was determined to rise to the challenge.
Dude, that's
an exciting.
That's like Guitar Hero on. He had a lot of fun with it. He nailed it. I think he enjoyed that.
We're done with the movie. I'm about to do commentary. It hasn't been reviewed. It hasn't come out yet. So I'm a little bit in a vacuum. I have no idea how it's going to be received. Last time the bar was very low. Nobody knew what to expect from us. And I don't often get to say it, and I don't know if I'll get to say it next week, but for right now, as we go into the weekend, you're all just, it's very touching, and I appreciate it.
Welcome. Here, thanks,
But now people over 2 years have Iron Man's a memory, probably better in their minds than it was on the film. And so you're fighting, you know, you're competing, you're fighting against a set of expectations.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap.
There was a feeling in our first Iron Man of taking the subject matter seriously and not taking ourselves seriously. I think the tone was what made the movie win.
Because of the success of Iron Man, Marvel actually had a little bit of stability. You know, everything's changed a lot. I feel like, you know, I landed at Plymouth Rock and got to pick out where the settlement went.
It's very rewarding, but there's also a lot of stress. And there's always this need to top yourself.
When we get into a sequel, that's where we really sort of take the gloves off and go, okay, now it worked, the audience knows us, the audience likes us, and here's what we want to present to them now.
There was not a weak link here, and it's going to show on the screen, and I just want to thank you all with deep gratitude from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all very, very much.
I think it should be the most emotionally impactful. It should be the coolest to watch.
There's some things that I really am looking forward to. Obviously, the climax of the movie, the expo. I want to see how all of that works.
There's so much that I won't know until I see it. By the time I get into the theater, I'm sure I'll be completely blown away by what John and his teams have put together.
I'm really excited to see all the stunts and how that ends up after all of the post-production work.
Every choice that we make is about how we're going to get the audience to respond. Are they going to cheer? Are they going to get chills at this moment?
We worked our asses off just to get Iron Man 2 to a place where it could maybe be on the mantle next to the first one.
We're really all working on narrowing in on that character, on that tone that we felt worked as soon as we saw the first movie. So I know one of the really big things as we went into this movie was, let's keep that tone. And that tone is what makes an Iron Man movie. And I think we did that.
What makes it fresh is this sort of perfect storm of creative talents that has come together. It's Marvel, it is Favreau, it's Downey, and the supporting cast.
Working with Robert and Favreau and Gwyneth, it's been a real pleasurable experience.
It was a great experience.
I loved the first movie so much. And so as soon as I heard that there was a possible part in the second installment, I was all over it, I was desperate to be a part of it.
People love Iron Man, and I love Iron because I'm a little bit prejudiced.
We were going to really stay true to what fans enjoyed about the first one, but yet they want bigger and more. So that's always an interesting line to walk.
In this film, it's bigger, better, badder.
Absolutely.
And yet there's so much stuff that we weren't able to fit in here, and now I realize it wasn't time.
I hope this relationship gives us some place to even go further in the next one.
It opens the door to the rest of the Marvel Universe that we're going to explore in our subsequent movies.
We thought about what the big picture would be and what we were leading to. And when we were talking about the first one, I said, you can't do number 3. Number 3 has to be the Avengers.
This is going forward in the Iron Man trilogy and possibly into Avengers. We had to hold something back. So as much as I'm happy and excited with what we were able to do this time, I cannot wait to take the leaps we will, should we be afforded another opportunity.
We found a way to create, I think, a nice, fun tone and personality of the franchise that people seem to want more of. And it's been an adventure making a second one.
Are we at 10 minutes yet? No?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Now we have to yell cut.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. I'm Donnie, and that's Marie.
All right, buddy.
Is that all?
I think that's all we have to do.